Devil tried to get into the phones. He could anything he wanted to get into. So a message went out. Now let's talk. Nicki Minaj, you belong to the Father. Already said Kanye West. Who else? J. Cole, you belong to God. Chris Brown, you belong to the Father. All y'all belong to the Father. Y'all belong to God. I don't care what nobody say. The Father's judging this earth right now. I'm going to let y'all know that. And everybody can say whatever they want about me. I don't care. Because in order to gain it all, you got to be willing to lose it all. And that's what this generation don't understand. They want to get money, women. That stuff don't fulfill you. It don't fulfill you. I've been there, up, down, left, right, whatever. It's the same situations. So I'm calling y'all out. I want y'all to understand that you can have redemption. Nicki Minaj, Chris Brown, Lil Wayne, you belong to the Father. And I don't care what anybody say about this. It's the truth, and I'm going to let it go. Lauryn Hill's not crazy. Listen, y'all, these celebrities are not crazy. They're not crazy. They're not crazy. Dave Chappelle's not crazy. Lauryn Hill's not crazy. These people are real, strong people who have a purpose for God. So I know y'all been looking for me. Whatever, you know, here you go. You found him. Word from the God of Israel on this Shabbat, on this Sabbath day. Either you let his people go, or you're going to have him deal with. That's the word from the Most High God of Israel and his son Christ, who died for the sins of mankind. He releasing the real prophets. I was the voice of reason in every movie for a reason. The reason was this moment here. This is called destiny. And that's...
I was baptized in the blood of the ghetto. As the raindrops fall down my window, it reminds me of the struggle that I've been through. I was cursed, I'm still healing from my wounds. I was hurting, I'm still like a pendulum. I can't forget about my people, they don't know what else to do. Yeah, black Jew. Yeah, black Jew.
When they talk about Jews, people, you gotta realize, the first Jews were black.
Jews.
Yes.
Not Israelites.
Jews. The Jews.
Yeah.
The Jews. The Jews were black.
Right. Wow. It's deep.
And so, it's so crazy right now. I be thinking about this all the time.
With this, did you get any backlash to that at all? Because sometimes black people are like, no, we Baptist or we Catholic or... Yes, some people have said things like, oh, no, you black, that's what you are. You know, you black, you Christian, you this. You don't know, because there's black everything. Right. There's black people all over the world, and religion is one thing, and blood is another thing.
You can choose your religion.
You can choose your religion.
And we original man and woman anyway.
That part.
Yeah.
That part.
Yeah.
And when you do your real true research about the Hebrews and the Jews and the Israelites and all that, you find out that they look a lot like us sitting in this room right now. So maybe somebody stole some of the Jewish religion. Anyway, let me shut up. I don't have to be like some people stole from the get-go.
I'm an Israelite. Don't call me black no more. That word is only a color. It ain't facts no more. I don't wear crosses no more. Yahshua was coming back. I ain't scared of losses no more. I see life in that. Hey, I'm an Israelite, my diamonds Israel.
Cursed people. Deuteronomy 28 and 28 says, the Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart.
Feeling like I'm Kuta Kente, cause we going through slavery still. I can't lie, I'm #Israel, #12 tribes of Israel.
As we all know, with the African American community, we are being somewhat attacked culturally, physically, and mentally. I decided to put a quick letter together. I feel like it's very important for us as athletes, entertainers, and so forth to use our platform to affect our community in a positive way. In the words of Dr. King, America is essentially a dream. And from the looks of things, the so-called African American community appears to be walking with their eyes wide shut. As for our forefathers, they were brought to this nation as slaves, and we are suffering from a serious identity crisis. In one generation, we were called or referred to as color, then Negroes, Afro-American, blacks, and eventually African American. Who are we, people? But this is not by accident. This is the hand of God, as it is written. In Deuteronomy 28, verse 36 through 37. The Lord will bring you and the king which was set over you into a nation which you or your fathers have known. And there you will serve other gods, wood and stone. And you will become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations where the Lord will lead you. And this is one scripture out of the entire Bible. I can show you plenty more. With that being said, I ask this be viewed not merely as a statement, but as a call to action.
So I want to say, Kwam Yasharala, I'm awake, and it was time for us, Israel, to understand who we are and what we can do. And there's nothing, now repeat, there was nothing stopping us but us. The Most High already paved the way for us. There's nothing that can stop us but us. That's it. Division is the only thing that can stop us. Division on doctrine, division on things. So my brother Yosef is going to tell you what's going on. This is not a fad. This is not an end. You got to trust that the Most High is moving. So this is not a fad. This is not some just money scheme or some whatever. No. This is time. Kwam Yasharala, Israel. Kwam Yasharala. Kwam Yasharala. I love you. Shalom. And may the Most High be with you. All right.
I'm the religion that, to me, is the realest religion there is. I believe in God. I try to pray to God every night as I pass out. And I think that's, and to me, religion, my idea of religion is this. I think that if you, I learned this in jail, because I talked to every God there was in jail. I think that if you take one of the O's out of good, is God. If you had a D to evil, it's the devil. I think some cool motherfuckers sat down a long time ago and said, let's figure out a way that we can control motherfuckers. And that's what they came up with, is the Bible. Because if the guy wrote the Bible, I'm sure it would have been a revised copy by now. You know what I mean? Because a lot of shit has changed. And I've been looking for this revised copy, and I don't see it. I still see that same old copy that they had from then. And I'm not disrespecting anybody's religion. Please forgive me if it comes off like that. I'm just stating my opinion. I feel like we get crucified. I mean, the Bible was telling us all these people did this because they suffered this much. That's what makes them special people. Right. I got shot 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I mean? And I got crucified to the media. You know what I mean? And I walked through with the thorns on. And I had shit thrown on me. And I had the beef at the top. I told that nigga I'll be back for you. You know what I mean? And trust me, this not supposed to be going down. I'll be back. So I'm not saying I'm Jesus, but I'm saying that we go through that type of thing every day. We don't part the Red Sea, but we walk through the hood without getting shot. You know what I mean? We don't turn water to wine, but we turn motherfucking dope fiends and dope heads into profitable productive citizens into society. You know what I mean? We turn money. We turn words into money. You know what I mean? What greater gift can there be? So I believe God blesses us. I believe God blesses those that hustle, those that use their mind, and those that overall are righteous. I believe that your karma, everything that you do bad comes back to you. So anything that I'm doing that's bad, I'm going to have to suffer for. But in my heart, I think what I'm doing is right. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm going to heaven. And all that other shit is to control you. If the churches took half the money that they was making and gave it back to the community, we'd be all right. If they take half the buildings that they use to praise God and gave it to motherfuckers who need God, we'd be all right. We'd be all right. Have you seen some of these goddamn churches lately? It's ones that take up the whole block in New York. It's homeless people out here. Why ain't God letting them stay here? Why these niggas got gold ceilings and shit? Why God need gold ceilings to talk to me? Why do God need colored windows to talk to me? Why God can't come where I'm at, where he sent me? If God wanted to talk to me in a pretty spot like that, why the hell he sent me here then? You know what I mean? That make ghetto kids not believe in God. Why? That's true. So that's a wrong religion. I believe in God. I believe God put us wherever we want to be at. Then it makes sense that God will put us in the ghetto. That means he wants us to work hard to get up out of here. That means he's testing us even more. That makes sense. It makes sense that if you're good in your heart, then you closer to God. But if you're evil, then you're close to the devil. That makes sense. I see that every day. All that other spooky shit don't make sense. And I don't even believe, I'm not dissing them, but I don't believe in the brothers. I was in jail with them and having conversations. Brothers, I'm God. You God, open the gate for me. Yeah. You You know how far the sun is and how far the moon is? How the hell do I pop this fucking gate and get me free up out of here? Then I'll be a 5% for life. But never seen it.
Early days related to the thrones of David, captured by some patriots and thrown on slave ships.
That out his hand to me and asked me, would I rock the microphone? I just gave him a pound and I said shalom.
In the kitchen cooking up, trying to bake a pie. I'm reading about my past deception, trying to cremate a lie. Guess I should talk about bottles, girls, the hood, and guns. I've gotten sicker that you son of sin, I'm God's son.
Hi, shalom, shalom from Israel. This is Ola, the daughter of Jethro. And I just heard that you black people that was stolen from Africa to America, that you don't know who you are. But you are the children of Yahweh, the children of Israel. And I'm telling you, you have to come back to your homeland, here to Zion, to Jerusalem. Because us, the Gentiles, we do need you. We need you to come and pray because you are our saviors. You're the one that was chosen by Yahweh to live in this land, not the Jewish people, it's you. You were stolen from Africa, they deceived you, they told you that you are slaves, but you actually the children of Israel. And it's time just to come back. Come for your people, come back for us, come back for the whole Gentiles, because only you gonna save us. So please come back to Zion.
Talking about the Hebrew Israelites that are coming up to the truth of their heritage and realize this is their book. This is written about their family. You can easily see it from beginning to end that this is about one people that the nations can cleave to and become reborn and become an Israelite. He's not the God of the Gentiles, the Hudim, the Greek. He's only the Elohim of Israel. He says that the Hebrew Israelite movement is leeching off the Christian church. Isn't that the biggest, most hypocritical comment you've ever heard in your entire life? Christians have done nothing but leech off the heritage of another people. They practice replacement theology and put themselves as the people of the book. Yahweh has the people that he was sent to, and it's the lost sheep of the house of Israel, his firstborn son. That's who Yeshua was sent to. I am not sorry to tell you that Abraham, the father of the faith, was not a Christian. He was a Hebrew. I am in no way apologetic to tell you that his son Isaac also was a Hebrew. And I am no way going to tiptoe around the fact that Jacob was a Hebrew whose name was changed to Israel as one that struggles with Yah and overcomes, who gave birth through polygynous marriage to the 12 tribes of the house of Israel.
Alright, so this video is about black people and how they're actually superior, not just physically and all this and genetically and all that stuff, but actually they're the chosen people. Not all black people, but a lot of them, and even I could say, I don't know if I could say most of them, but many of them. Specifically the people that are living in America, and specifically the people who have been sent all over the earth on slave ships, those people are superior.
The truth is, you are his chosen. Yeshua and Yah are the true names of God and his son. So
the wisdom of Solomon in the Apocrypha in the 5th chapter talks about how Jacob, how the heathen is going to be amazed and confounded when they realize that the so-called black man is that chosen line. You know, in the 5th chapter, I'm getting ready to read some verses here. You know, it's going to be amazing. You aren't going to be able to comprehend it, and you're going to be in anguish and dismay and shock. How could it be that this so-called black man who's been terrorized over here for 400 years and all over the earth, really, in the four corners of the earth, how could it be? Let's read about it.
These are the actual Israelites, ancient Israelites, depicted in Egypt, Tumon. These are Assyrian captives. I believe these are probably Levite priests because their hair is cut a certain length. They
Look at
also
those
have
black
their hair in
images.
locks.
Look at those black images. Who's that? Daniel wrestling with that lion? With that black skin and woolly hair?
I don't know. I wonder if that's maybe a man in an early Christian in a Colosseum.
No, that's David. They said he wrestled with lions.
Okay. Well,
hey, but look, let me ask you this. Who are the Israelites, right? You see that?
The ancient Israelites are those people that were taken into slavery through Atlantic slave trade and scattered through all nations of the world.
Right, okay.
And where it gets interesting is, in America, there was a slave trade. And a lot of the slaves, a very high percentage of them, came from Western Nigerian ports. And in America today, you see a very large movement of African Americans who say that they're the real chosen people, that they're the children of Israel, they're the Judeans. You know, so what are they just trying to create an identity for themselves because they were slaves, or is there really something here? And the answer is, most likely there is something there. And most likely, maybe that they were the original Israelites, and maybe that the Jewish people today who are white, Caucasian people came in a little bit later on.
It is very important that you understand who the true Hebrews are, because the end-time prophecy, lots of it, surround these individuals. I am a Gentile. I know exactly who I am, but it seems to be the one group of people in the world that have been, by the rest of the world, tried to be dumbed down to the fact or completely erase their history from history, is the African American people, so-called, that are scattered throughout the nations. Now, please, it is those that are under the curse of Deuteronomy 28. And you'll be able to tell by the time that I'm done giving you this information, this video, who the true Hebrews are. And you may be one of them.
Hello, everybody. This video is to show you who the true Hebrews or Jews are, or Yehudim. The people in Israel right now are not Jews. They're Khazars. Your true Druze, or your true Yehudim, are the so-called black person, or African American, as you like to call them sometimes.
I've been reading.
And you've got to understand and question, why do they do this throughout the whole of America, in all the public schools? Why do they only go back as far as the 16th and the 17th century to talk about slavery? We've got to go further back than that. Because Islam designed infernal slavery. And then the Ashkenazi Khazars, those who say they are Jews and are not, are the ones that marketed it. And the regal Negro nomads, exiled from the kingdom of Judah, were the main recipients of it at the hands of the indigenous black Africans. Because you've got to understand, the regal class of the house of Judah came down from Israel, and they came into the land of the black Africans. And the black Africans resented the regal class of the house of Judah in their land, because they had laws, they had customs, they had civility. And they were a regal class of Negro that came down into Africa. And later on, it was the Ashkenazi, the Islamic slave traders as well, that then worked together with the indigenous black Africans to enslave the regal house of Judah. This is what we've got to understand, but you've got to go back before the 16th century to understand the roots of it. So we're going to see, as we dig into this, where this slavery came from, because it was really a system that was very, very well crafted. There was Islamic masters, and there were white Ashkenazi Khazar ship owners. There were the buyers and the sellers. And they're not going to fill you in on all of this, but really you've got a 4-tier system. Number one, you have the Negro nomads to trap the regal Negro house of Judah. And then you had them sell them to the Ashkenazi ship merchants, along with many Portuguese and British Ashkenazi.
Look, sir. Horses play smarter than an African.
God, man. The Semites brought horses to Africa.
Horses probably smarter than an African.
God, man. The Semites brought horses to Africa.
Horses probably smarter than an African.
God, man. The Semites brought horses to Africa when they defeated the Egyptians more than 2,000 years before the birth of Christ. It never fails to amaze me that you traveled the world, Spaulding, and seem to know nothing about it.
And in the Bible, it said 400 years it said people would be in bondage in a country that you would be strangers in for 400 years, and this is 401. 1619. 1619. That's when slavery started. 1619. So, here we are in 2020, and all this going on. I happen to be like, I feel like this is ordained, you know what I mean? I think it's the fulfillment of a prophecy. And everybody's saying, we're at war and we're unprepared. We don't have the ammunition. We don't have the preparation. We don't have the strategy. We don't have the leadership. We don't have the, hey, bruh, God only gonna fight with one of us. God will only fight with one side of this. And if he fight with us, then guess what? That's all the we need.
You see, every time that black people are pulled over by the police, we wonder if we're going to make it home, because our skin is a crime to them, not our criminal record, not what we're doing. They have been taught every day to have a fear and hatred of the black man and black woman of America. Even immigrants are taught when they come to this country to have a hatred and fear of the black man and black woman of America. Automatically, they indoctrinate everybody to hate us. And why? It is straight demonic to have that much hate for a group of people that haven't done you nothing. But yes, many of you have left comments for me and stated why. And I understand why. Yes, we are the true children of God. I know that, because only the true children of God would be hated that much. I know that the scriptures have said it so many times. I get that. And this is why the judgment is starting to hit now. And it's going to increase. Think about that. 3 major storms, earthquakes, wildfires in the West. Oh, wait for the winter to come. You got something else to see with that too. It's not about to stop. Also, and you can maybe put this in the bank, it wouldn't surprise me if a plague hit. Wouldn't surprise me. Because there's too much evil in this nation, in this land. And black people have been victimized by those doing evil for well over 400 years. No matter how much we speak against it, outcry against it, it's always we're the problem. We're causing more division and more of that, when we only speaking about what's truly happening to us. Now, other groups are starting to really see what we have been speaking about for many years. Now it's an outcry. Now it's a problem. Welcome to our world.
You never thought this day would come. And no, it is not a dream. It's very real.
Elohim spoke to him in this way. For 400 years, your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated there. Delivered translation. Elohim also told him that his descendants will live in a foreign land where they will be oppressed as slaves for 400 years. This was not talking about the Egyptian captivity. That's why he said, by the way whereof I spoke unto thee, which he said they will see it no more. How can you go into a land you wouldn't see anymore? He even made it clear that it was a land from the other end of the earth. And he also stated that when they was in Egypt, they was there for a total of 430 years, and they wasn't slaves at all near the entirety of that time. Because when Joseph, who is Joseph, was there, he was actually cool with the Pharaoh and became second to Pharaoh. They actually worked with the Egyptians for quite some time. So the reality is they wasn't even enslaved there the entirety of the time of the 400 or 430. It probably was less than about 215 years at most. So it wasn't talking about Egypt, and this scripture makes it clear, and the curses in Deuteronomy 28 also makes it clear as well. This was talking about a future captivity that was identified as the last. And when it said Egypt, the correct term that they would go back into would have been Misraim, which represents the house of bondage and the house of slavery. That's what the word means. It wasn't on Egypt in the scriptures. A lot of words have been added to the new Christianized Bibles because religion was trying to hide the truth. Like they took out a lot of the words that said black and turned that around as well, like the Songs of Solomon, where he actually says he's black in various other passages. So always keep that in mind, that when it says you will go back to Egypt by ships, you didn't even need a ship to get from Jerusalem to Egypt. That's why they walked the Messiah as a baby into Africa to hide him from King Herod when he hid amongst Ethiopians. You can walk there. It's as simple as going across the state of Tennessee. He said ships to let them understand that you would go into another type of Egypt, and that was referring to the second Egypt, which was the second form of this oppression. One was the first and one would be the last. Ships meaning slave ships, where you be taken into oppression, which he said again as slaves the moment you touch the soil. Not you chilling there for quite some time and getting along with people. No, you would touch that land as a slave with an iron yoke upon your neck, and you will be captive, and you will have your identity stripped from you. They already knew about Egypt. This was not a land that was unknown to them and their ancestors. They've been blending in and out of there for quite some time. So just be mindful to know the scriptures before you try to say that when he talked to Abraham, who later was Abram at first, right? He changed his name, that he was talking about the Egyptian one. No, he was not. No, he was not. He was talking about the final captivity, which was to take place that will usher in the last days after that one ended, after that 400 years. And that's why he says after that, he also says in Genesis with Abraham, this was one that was in Acts, but it says it twice about the 400 years of oppression and enslavement of people. See, look, know for certain that for 400 years, your descendants will be strangers in the country, not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated there. Notice he said you're going to be enslaved for quite some time. And even after they changed up the form of your slavery, it has just turned to affliction or oppression, where they create this illusion where you think that you was free because you no longer have the physical aspect of it showing so direct, although in some respects it still do, with police brutality and killing and how we make up the highest incarceration rate in the jails. All the things referred to in Deuteronomy chapter 28 in regards to the curses and how they will always hate us. And no matter what we do, they will always kill us and blame us, and it will always be our faults. That's what he was talking about. Mistreated, oppression, affliction. That's what he was talking about. But after that 400 years, which was starting in 1619 AD, can't count the Spanish conquest, because he was talking about a particular nation that will perform this, and they will rise up to be that superpower into the last days. That's America. And America is the daughter of Babylon, but Babylon's influence is worldwide. So keep that in mind, that all 11 tribes, they fled into Africa when they lost their land that was pillaged due to their sin. But since the house of Yahudah, Judah, split into a separate kingdom, because they were split into two kingdoms when they got exiled from the land, you got the exile, but the tribe of Judah decided to do greater abominations and to worship the star and the star of Moloch, worship Satan, do Baal worship, all of that satanic stuff. So the anger of Yahuwah, Yahweh, it blazed against them, and he sent the Romans and all of these various nations in one, and they pillaged into Yahudah, Judah, and sent them into the Atlantic slave trade. So only the tribe of Yahudah, Judah, was scattered into all of the four corners of the earth, while the outskirts of the rest of the ones that was exiled was mostly into the African regions, which they are still in today. Judah went into that enslavement of Deuteronomy 28, where they faced a whole bunch of those things because of the greater sins and abominations that they did. So all of them oppressed and facing drama, but Judah went into the Atlantic slave trade is what I'm saying. And yes, all 12 tribes are Negroid. Stop believing that fake 12 tribes chart from controlled people of our own that's been put in place by the government to perpetuate a lie because they have a lust for foreigners and they want to justify that rather than stick to the truth about the scriptures. You have to be Negroid to qualify as one of the 12 tribes of Yasharel, not throwing in all these foreigners who was bred through white Europeans raping doing the indigenous people, which were Hamites in the lands, like in America, the natives. Those was Hamites. They already settled into this land by ships way before. Well, this is a land unknown to Israelites. So how can you say the people that was already here who known about this foreign land was Israelites? They're contradicting scriptures. A lot of their chart can be contradicted, like the West Indies include half the list of names on the chart, but yet they say all of the West Indies is Benjamin, which is very contradictory because Puerto Rico part of Benjamin, and is it Cuba and so forth. Stop believing in people, and they also rocking that satanic star of Mulak, which is also in the scripture. Let's jump right into that. Let me try to find it really quick. That's why we don't never rock stars. It's an idol and it has a horrible meaning. Stars are not pointed. They don't even look like that in reality. The 6-pointed star, the 5-pointed star is not no Star of David because David would never worship the star or even use it as a symbol of worship. That violates the commandments. This is the star that they got from these pagans, which they still practice in today. That's how you can tell the real ones that Israelites walking their walk from men who just puffed up with pride, causing evil, speaking evil, and bringing blasphemy on the name of Yah by standing in the streets to be visible to men. Truly, I say to you, like the Messiah said, they're having their reward in full. No different than the pagan nations and the heathens and the ones they call Edomites, right? Like they doing the exact same thing, but under the name of, hey, well, at least I'm black and I'm part of it. Then they think that they justify, but they're not. See, look at this in Acts 7:43. You have taken up the tabernacle of Moloch and the star of your god Rephaim, the idols you made to worship. Therefore, I will send you into exile beyond Babylon. So as you can see, the star already had its significance in the scriptures, and it had nothing to do with Yasharelites. You know, came from pagan deities and pagan gods, things that equate you to satanic worship, the worship of Baal, Rephaim, Moloch, all of these names for these pagan gods, which ultimately takes you to the God of all these gods, which is Satan, which means Lord, which is what Baal means, right? Baal in Hebrew, right? Lord in Hebrew is Baal, excuse me. So a lot of these customs and words people use and it's beyond me. Also, you got a lot of these campers, we call them. These campers are so fraudulent. They blaspheming this awakening that Yah is doing. And they trying to cause people to stumble because they don't really have the Ruach within them because they don't maintain the fruitages of the spirit. They maintain hatred, evil, and radicalized ideas where they just trying to make a name for themselves and fame for themselves because they might have the blood, but they don't really have the truth within them. That's why they speaking a lot of blasphemy about the names, about what the word red really means in Hebrew, which is ruddy. But they'll say it mean white people, and Adam actually means ruddy is red. David was red and so forth. So how can you say it's the white man that was actually created by the white man to try to inculcate that they was the ones in the scriptures, and that they using the same thing, but then they say, hey, I hate the white man. Stop believing liars that are not educated to speak because they are not led by the Ruach HaKodesh, and they don't really have the truth in them. A lot of people that's of the blood of Yasharelites, aka Israelites, the real term, Yasharelites, a lot of them ain't gonna make it because even though a lot of people gonna become awakened to who they are, Isaiah makes it clear, Isaiah, that only a remnant will return to him. Because a lot of people gonna wake up to this and talk about it, but that don't mean they're gonna actually walk the walk. That's why only a remnant gonna return. You know, and a lot of people gonna just stay doing what they doing. They're gonna stay in church. They're gonna stay doing Christianity, Muslim teachings, Catholic Catholicism, which actually birthed Christianity through the Council of Nicaea and Constantine, and a whole bunch of lies. So just be mindful and educate yourselves before you fall into the lies of believing that people was Middle Eastern, not knowing that it was actually called Northeastern Africa, and these lands were black lands, and the Yasharel, which dwelled in Northeastern Africa, was full of the what you would call Jews. They were black people. They wasn't no white tan people, which would happen after conquest and colonization and whitening out seas and moving people around through slave trade and pushing the real indigenous or the real people there deeper into the wilderness, while you show only the whiter skinned people, which came after the fact through subjugation and rape in a process called Blackliomento, right? Where you white out a seed through 3-generation cross. Do y'all research about DNA and statistics and about how they did this slave trade, so you can understand that why every time when the whites made it into a land that was black, it became white. But when it came toward the Israelites, we didn't change. We just got moved and enslaved. Y'all wouldn't allow our seed to be whited out. And Africa only stayed because they needed identity to try to pretend that we was part of. If they made everybody white, you wouldn't fall for the illusion that you're an African American. So be wise, my people. Shalom, shalom. This 12 tribes chart made by these campers is fake, fraudulent, and not real, and not scripturally supported. The scriptures makes it clear, including the Apocrypha, that the majority of the 11 tribes are still scattered in African regions. They tell you the rivers that they are across from, which all equates to like Kush and Ethiopia, Nigeria. I mean, most of the 11 tribes, well, all of them for the most part, they are in Africa. The only tribe that was taken to the Atlantic slave trade was the tribe of Judah. So the real chart should actually show this, and I made it myself. Give me 1 second. So the real 12 tribes chart should actually show the truth. Shemites is the birth of what they would call now today as Negroids, okay? Shemites were Hebrews. Then they had their names changed to Yisraelites, who you now say is Israelites, okay? Then after that, they went into subjugation slavery, and they had many bywords called upon them, like Afro-American, African-American, claiming that they Hamites when they wasn't. They were Shemites, right? Using the curse of Ham as a justification to try to say everybody black came from there, when Ham didn't even get cursed. It was Canaan, one of his sons, and he had multiple sons. So how can you just test the entire race to only one of the sons? And on top of it, it actually tells you that in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary that the Negroes was not included as Hamites. It makes it very clear, even from the oppressors, they knew it, and everyone knew this back in the day. And you can still buy that Zondervan's Bible Dictionary, and you can actually see it. It's one of the most accurate dictionaries that you have that was put out. And it makes it clear that Ham is the birth of like the Libyans, you know, the Cushites, Ethiopians, and so forth. But then it puts in bold letters, but not the Negroes. Yet they keep saying everybody black came from this when all three sons were black. Literally. White skin was not even heard of back then. And you can look through the book of Enoch in regards to Noah's birth to see how strange it was. Even though he was an albino, you can also look through how they was blending with Hamites. How can they be white if they was blending with Hamites? Like Moses was mistaken as an Egyptian. We know Egyptians was black. Joseph was mistaken as an Egyptian when his brothers saw him when he rose to power after they sold him into slavery. How could it happen if he was white? How could you blend in with a Hamite, which was an Egyptian of Mizraim? Like, people don't understand the truth about the scriptures because they go to church and religion and they just say what feels good, and they worship everything under the lines of white supremacy. Religion was spread also when the slave trade was happening. They was wiping out our history book and turned it into this religious thing. And now you have today all these people adopting pagan customs, pagan holidays, satanic ritualistic practices, sun worship, which is why they picked Sunday when the actual Shabbat, according to the commandments, it was on Saturday. So it's just funny how everything changed, and then they tell you laws done away with, which was the same thing that got the house of Yisrael or Israel in trouble, to perceive that the laws was done away with. So they stopped doing them, and they got us scattered into all of these corners of the earth and so forth. So it's just funny that the same thing that they did back then is the same thing they teach today, and they manipulate our book. They changing names and making them westernized. They widening out the judges thereof as told in the Apocrypha. Then nobody want to believe the Apocrypha because they tell you don't believe it. Only believe the 66 books. You know that satanic number? 66 books. Instead of the entirety of the scriptures had about 80 to 100 books. You know, like the Apocrypha, the Book of Enoch, the Apocalypse of Abraham, all of this stuff. But, you know, people don't believe it, even though most of these books predate Genesis, which is so hilarious because they don't understand history, and that most of these books was found among the same Dead Sea Scrolls that they accept today. So the logic of a Christian-minded person or a religious-minded person is they don't understand truth because they believe in a delusion. And they also believe in this whole space illusion, which was developed through Freemasons and through the Catholic Church, and how they birth what you have today as NASA and the Nazis and so forth. Like, they don't even know the elements of that. That's why they think the earth is actually a globe. But the Hebrews already had the revelation of what the creation was revealed to them through the book of Enoch. And they made it very clear through their illustrations that the world was a flat, enclosed environment with a firmament dome around it, right, which is a solid barrier, Hebrew root rakia, or rakaya, and it was surrounded by a nice wall, which was talked about in Job, where this is where the proud waves come to their halt. and they are stopped. That means something solid has to stop that liquid barrier of these powerful waves. That's an ice wall, a solid barrier to go around it. It talks about the circle of the earth being encompassed in like the middle, like the face, the geometrical flat, and so forth. So a lot of people speak out of ignorance because they let these misinformation sites lead them astray, and they just indulge in the things that actually don't make sense. Like you spinning, but you can't feel it. You know, just a lot of ignorant stuff. Or how water stay on the ball. They say, well, gravity's magically holding it, but no solid barrier makes sense logically when you put everything liquid into something solid right now, or it just disintegrate, evaporate, waste all over the place and be gone unless it has something to contain it in. All I'm saying is people need to really wake up. But all 12 tribes of Yasharel were Negroes. Hence, their mom and dad was Negroes. Their ancestors would be Negroes. People they related to be Negroes. Nappy, kinky type hair, not silky, straight hair. And you're including all foreigners on there, which also don't really like Negroids, you know, as far as the nations are concerned. Not judging everybody, but it is true. Mexicans have a history of being racist to Negroes, especially in the jail systems. They also separate from amongst each other. And most of these nations they involved into the charts never practiced the customs of the commandments or the scriptures, and they still not even doing it right now. But then they throw shade on the black ones that look more like them, which is ironic. But that shows you the mindset of us always trying to clean toward whiter skin, silkier hair, rather it's foreigners who mix with the Europeans through the subjugation and so forth. But then we're quick to throw shade on our own people. Now, if you date somebody out of ignorance and you didn't know this stuff yet, that's understandable. But when you willingly know that the law did say that we wasn't supposed to be mixing with foreigners, right, then you'll get it. And be mindful that when Joseph and Moses, aka Moshe and Yosef, had foreign wives, that's because the law has not yet been established. Remember, it happened after they got out, after it was already done. Much love, y'all. Shalom, shalom. And more proof also that only Yahudah went into the Atlantic slave trade. You can check Isaiah 11:12, where it talks about in regards to what Yah will do. He will raise a signal for the nations and will assemble the banish of Yasharel and gather the dispersed of Yahudah from the four corners of the earth. Notice that when it comes to Yehudah, he always talk about four corners, right? Because that's where they were scattered through Atlantic slave trade. So how can they be all of these foreign races when they was just sent there as slaves? So they was Negroid. They don't just absorb and become what they are, even though your names get changed through bywords by your oppressors, but that don't mean that you are them. You have Negroid Mexicans that are there, and they only referred to by us as Mexicans because they live in Mexico. Just like black people in America are referred to as what? Americans, but they are not truly Americans because they're not from this land. We are from Yasharel, right? The natives was here and they whited them out. Just know y'all history, man. In Leviticus 26:43, you, however, I will scatter amongst the nations and will draw out a sword after you as your land becomes desolate and your cities become waste. See, we was cursed, and the final captivity was started at that 1619 AD into 2019. After that, Yah makes it clear he will bring a judgment on this world for all of the bad that they did through Edom, through Edomites, you know, and how much they built everything off the backs of us and they never gave us reparations. They still killing us by police. They still lying about us. They still down at us. Yah is very upset because these are his children. Negroids are his children. That's the chosen people. And they'll never teach this because a lot of people hate us because Yah chose us. So they just down us and be like, nah, that's not it. Ain't what the pastor said. And they keep running back to Babylon, the world's religions, all of them. But just be mindful of that, y'all. But stop believing in this chart. It's fraudulent and fake. And it's by men that's put in place, even amongst our own, that are controlled, just like the sellouts in Hollywood. Shalom. And one more funny one for you guys. I know 12 tribes chart to say that the West Indies is Benjamin, right? So let's look at the West Indies. You have Cuba, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and Haiti. The funny thing is, so the whole West Indies should be Benjamin. But I bet right now, if you go to that chart, a lot of these places like the Dominican Republic, the Cubans, the Haitians, Puerto Ricans, and so forth, I bet you they also classify as other tribes. They didn't think about that when they was just freestyling this chart, which was a man who also said the world's going to end in the early 2000s and just freestyled it because he had a lust for foreign women. True story. But look on the chart right now, that fake chart, and you'll see that the West Indies is all supposed to be Benjamin. Yet a lot of these places that's involved as, or that's part of the West Indies, I'll say, they are also called other tribes. How can you be a tribe and then another tribe? Boy, people got to educate themselves. Much love. Only the tribe of Yahudah went into the slave trade, and you can see the places as to where they went. It was North and South America, Haiti, Cuba, Mexico, Jamaica, Portugal, Spain, West Indies, England, and various places. Because the slave boats didn't just stop in America. They went everywhere. Y'all said 4 corners. That means north, south, east, west. Most of the 12 tribes stories only centered on the North and South America. So it's just so contradictory when you read the Apocrypha and the entirety of the scriptures in a revised standard of the 6 books people have today. And although you see like the all mixed heads and all of these civilizations of black people that was there, like the native Indians or those that were in the Americas, those were Hamites. Like I said, the Hamites already discovered a lot of these lands. Okay, that's why when you go to the slave trade, the Hamites actually snitched us out and sold us to the Ashkenazis and the Europeans and so forth, because we was a set apart people and we didn't live like them and worship the way that they did. That's why the Africans actually take part in sending us into the slave trade. Yet they'll say we African Americans. Why would they sell their own people into this? They sell people that was foreign to them into this, which was us in that case, because we came to their lands when we fled. Okay, we're not African Americans. We are Israelites. All right. I ain't saying people don't oppress their own people, but come on now, we was not Africans. But that was the lie perpetuated by the Edomites and pretty much the Caucasoids, because they wanted to try to wipe us out and cut us off from being a nation, which Yah actually said happened in the scriptures. All the nations came together with a common goal and agreement that they was going to wipe us out from being a nation, that we would no longer be remembered and we'll forget our history, and then they can continue to subjugate us, enslave us, and build their riches off the backs of us and our ancestors. But Yah was going to make an end of that after the 400 years, because he stated that Israel and Isaiah shall awaken from their slumber, but only a remnant shall return unto me. He was going to wake us up. This is what's happening now. The Great Awakening. You can check all over YouTube. Celebrities having these identities crises because they figuring out who they are. And now they're in these bad situations because they sold their souls. I mean, this awakening happening. Y'all waking up everybody that's part of these tribes. He woke up the Gentiles first so that they can have a witness and a testimony, so they can have opportunity to change. And because once he woke up Yahshua, the world had to end. Because once we know who we are, we're going to start to turn back to him, the good ones. And that's why you see this plague hitting, just like everybody already knew was going to happen right after that, which was destined to occur to this earth. Yah's bringing the plagues, and it's crazy. Ice storms, firestorms, the third of the wilderness being burnt up as foretold, which happened already in Cali, and then even Australian fires that even happened a little longer ago. But you see that they really intensified as we passed that 2019 portion and went further into 2020. Horrible year. 2021 literally started out with a Capitol riot, all drama, a coup, just all this drama happening, and people don't want to see that this is that judgment that he said was going to happen after the captivity, which was the final one. And he would no longer let his people continue to be subjugated and to suffer by the hands of wicked, evil people that's following Isatan, Satan, which is what the whole world is constructed of. And the fake people that's claiming to be Jews in Revelation 2:9, he's going to give it to his real people, which is talked about in Revelation 3:9. So just educate yourselves, please. And this is not hate speech. Anyone can attain salvation if they attach themselves to the truth that the Israelites, the Negroids, the 12 tribes are the focal point. That's the same lineage of people in which the Messiah rose up from and was only given to. They twisting the scriptures really bad to y'all to lead y'all to go down like them. We're not trying to throw it in your faces. We just want you to know the truth that all 12 tribes are Negroids, and these are the chosen people, and y'all never gave up on his people. The scriptures actually said this in Romans. Paul said it. Did he reject his own people? Goodness, no. I'm an Israelite myself. I'm from the tribe of Benjamin. He would never give up on his people which he foreknew. Also, Yahweh is said in Romans to have reserved 7,000 men, even amongst those that didn't betray the Messiah and that didn't bow the knee to Baal. So like there is in the present time, there's a remnant that's also chosen by mercy and grace. No different than how he passed grace upon some of the Gentiles. So it's amazing how they say he'll reject us because we did something wrong. But every time they do wrong and they go to church, oh, he'll always forgive you. You can see the agenda there. Just like they say the commandments are over with, but yet the Messiah was still talking about the commandments. And when he said, I did come to destroy the law, the commandments of Moshe or Moses. I came to fulfill them, which means to give them their full meaning. He never said end. That's why he gave the contradiction of that in the opposition way. I didn't come to destroy, but to fulfill. If to fulfill mean destroy, why would he oppose it to the idea of destroy? Wake up, y'all. Please wake up.
Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore, the curse is brought upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against him.
What if I told you that just about everything you were taught in school or church about history has been a lie? What if I told you that you are not a Gentile or a Hamite Egyptian or a Canaanite? And what if I told you that the very Bible that you read is talking about you and your ancestors? What if I told you that all the suffering our people has gone through for centuries is just a continuation of a divine punishment from God? And what if I told you that this punishment is otherwise known as the curses of Israel? And what if I told you that the people the world knows as Jews are not the real biblical Hebrew Israelites of the Bible? Would you believe me? From the very beginning, there has been a battle between good and evil, between the seed of Satan, the fallen angels who were deified by man, and the seed of Seth. But this battle was an eternal battle that will continue until the biblical end of days. This battle continued after the great flood with Noah, his 3 sons, and their seed, but in a different form. A form that the world would see as deception. But this was no ordinary deception, as this deception would be directed at one future seed, the seed of Jacob, otherwise known as the children of Israel, from whom Christ the Mashiach came. The plan was perfect, that is, according to Satan's eyes, as the Israelites would be subjugated to these different forms of deception throughout the ages, during their different stages of captivity or exile into the nations. The deception would be so big, coming at the Israelites from so many angles, that it would cause them to break the covenant given to them from God directly to Moses. What happened next will continue for over 3,000 years, affecting one specific group of people. The Bible says Satan is the father of lies, and it also says that you can recognize false prophets or false teachers by their fruits. Once the Greeks got a hold of the books written by Hebrew Israelites, history would never be the same. For centuries, the Catholic Church controlled what Christians worldwide learned using the Council of Nicaea and other tactics like controlling the printing press. This continued on during slavery, when the same Catholic missionaries came teaching another Jesus and another doctrine, using the white knives lies to deceive God's true chosen people. Using the white slave plantation overseer and the black Negro driver, biblical history through white knives eyes could be taught to the generations of slaves and future black spiritual leaders without question. After all, slaves were not allowed to read. So why would we question or second guess what we were being told then and even today? So what was the result of this? Why are there millions of black churches in the black community, but the community is in shambles? Why have we been praying to the same Jesus that other races have been also praying to? But as a people, we seem to be on the verge of destruction. There is no more time for games. A storm is coming, and it is now time for black people to start waking up. It's time for black people to start asking questions and to demand answers. Why are blacks robbed and spoiled in the prison systems worldwide? Why are we scattered into all nations as slaves? And where is our place called home? And why have we not returned to our homeland? Why does the media lie about ancient biblical black history? And why does everyone hate us? Why are we dying of diseases and health issues more than any other race in the world? And why is there an agenda to destroy us? And why does it seem that the music industry is only destroying blacks compared to other races? And why are we divided as a people with no trust or love for another? And why can't we unite as a people to achieve greatness? Why are we the victims of the media of sexual and moral destruction? And why are we the victims of mental and developmental destruction? And why is there an agenda to destroy the black male image in America? And why are we the victims of academic suppression and destruction? Why have we got any reparations when everyone else has? And why are we the poorest in every country? And how come we don't have an economy within an economy? And why haven't we
we've been taught that the Jews and the Arabs were slaves to our forefathers for centuries. If we are the descendants of the children of Israel, then why have we had our identity stolen? Even more, why isn't the Black Christian Church teaching this to their congregation? Fast forward to the 21st century, now we have reached a critical point in biblical history and prophecy that cannot be denied. As World War III looms in the background and there is more talk in Israel about building the third temple in Jerusalem, the world is becoming more ungodly. The Battle of Armageddon seems closer now than ever. But amongst all this chaos, ungodliness, and evil, we are seeing an awakening. This awakening is an awakening of the truth. The remnant of the biblical children of Israel is waking up. Those who God has awakened are the ones raising up that old line of Judah. We are the ones turning from our wicked ways. We are the ones coming back to the God of the Bible, the Creator, and the Mashiach together in unity, preparing for the tribulation so that we can be the ones who endure to the end. We are crying aloud to our people, sparing nothing, lifting up our voice like a trumpet to show God's true chosen people their transgressions and sins. This is a final call, but do you have the ears to hear the warning? Now, George Orwell, the author of 1984, said, "Whoever controls history controls the world." So I think it's about time that we tell our history the right way. No more slave movies, no more coonery and buffoonery, no more white biblical lies. A lie cannot live forever. The Bible says, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." Remember, in Matthew 24, verse 37 to 42, it says, "But as the days of Noah were, so shall also be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also be the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall be two in the field, and one shall be taken, and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken, and the other left. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come." Hebrews to Negroes, wake up, Black America. Wait a minute now. Now, did you really think that we was going to talk about only the Black Hebrew Israelites scattered in the United States of America? The Bible says the children of Israel will be scattered into the four corners of the world. So where are they at?
lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up?
Years. 400 years.
this position? What did we do so wrong? Try to love us before you crush us. 400 years. And it still doesn't feel like home. If you truly want to understand us, then you have to learn about us from us. You have to feel our pain.
Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your
You
head?
have to acknowledge what we know. Please try to love us. Because if you don't, we'll never grow as one. Open your heart. Because we can't take another 400 years.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, in all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with a sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee, until thou be destroyed. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed. The Lord shall smite thee with madness, and blindness, and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look, and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always. so that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. The Lord shall smite thee in the knees, and in the legs, with a sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. The Lord shall bring thee, and thy king which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations whither the Lord shall lead thee. Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shalt neither drink of the wine, nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coasts, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive shall cast his fruit. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. All thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign, and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness, and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kine, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustest, throughout all thy land. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord thy God hath given thee, in the siege, and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee. So that the man that is tender among you, and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children which he shall leave, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left him in the siege, and in the straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear. For she shall eat them for want of all things secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in thy gates. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God, then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance, and sore sicknesses, and of long continuance. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness and every plague, which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee, until thou be destroyed. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy God. And it shall come to pass, that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good, and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you, and to bring you to naught. And ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest, to possess it. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, Would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, Would God it were morning, for the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.